Hello. So, as promised, I really want to commit to showing up and sharing a little bit more on here. I really struggle to do short format videos, so I will do my best to not make it super, super long. But that's just part of my blueprint. I talk a lot, I have a lot to say. And it's because I'm tuned in a lot to different layers of reality, and there's a lot going on. And I'm very curious as a soul. So I like to get into different themes and topics on a really wide and deep and big scale. So, yeah, I will do my best to not make it super long, but like I said, and no promises. So, I just want to share there's a theme that I'm very passionate about, or I would say I've been very interested in, probably for my whole journey, actually, but something that I'm really noticing lately that I can speak a little bit into from some experience and what I'm moving through myself in terms of like my growth path. And I'm noticing, really starting to notice and be able to see into and see through the difference between, we'll say, embodiment and somebody that knows a lot. And, there's a lot of people in this world, me included, that have been very invested in like knowing a lot. Like, I'm triple Aquarius. I am here for the age of Aquarius. I like to know. And that has its own magic and its own beauty. Like there's nothing wrong with like being curious on a mind level. It takes you into many different dimensions. And it's not very useful knowing a lot in terms of like reading from a book, or like doing courses and absorbing information and trying to learn things on a mental level. This comes from a program of being disconnected from our actual true exploration of intelligence and our inner wisdom. And there's a difference between that and being embodied or having embodied wisdom or like having that knowledge lived, having a lived experience of what that knowledge is. And I see the two things kind of working in tandem. You can have somebody share with you something about a concept, and that can spark some curiosity in you. And then you go and you contemplate and you integrate and you live what that concept is. And I feel like this is a lot where the guru teacher relationship comes from, which has, by the way, been very distorted by our beautiful, distorted world right now. Of where the guru would just give the student a phrase or a concept or a paradox or a riddle, and they would go and live it. Or the guru would say something or share something, and they would go off and experience it and come back a few months later or a year later or whatever it is when they feel like they need some guidance again. And we're in an age of information, so we have a lot of information blasted to us a lot of the time, or most of the time. And that is something that wasn't there when this guru, student relationship was there. There was more life being lived and less self inquiry. And we're in a really nice space now where we're getting more time and space to self inquire. I think this is a gift of AI as well. It's going to free up a lot of people, to be able to actually do some deeper inner work and like reflection on why they're here, and what is this whole life about, and what is self realization. So I see that as a great thing. And I also see it as a little bit of a trap in terms of like, I'm noticing trends of like people in the spiritual worlds. I will speak about that world because it's the world that I'm most exposed to, but it's in every world, I'm sure, where people learn and learn and learn, and they do courses and courses and courses, and they never feel like they're there, and they're never enough, and they're never ready, because a lot of the engagement comes from consumption versus embodiment. It comes from trying to get something from the outside versus birthing something from the inside. And for me, my experience has been, as I've awakened and as I continue to awaken into my higher truth and into who I really am and to self realize, I really notice, because there's nowhere to get, nobody's enlightened here. And I mean, there might be some enlightened beings on this planet, I don't know, but in terms of the general population, we're all here trying to figure out why we're here. And yeah, I really noticed a process in me where I didn't have as much of the need to consume information. I don't know if it's because I'm more up here, so I'm more into imagination and other realms naturally. But I did go through a phase of trying to learn and do courses. And, I've done so many courses on different things. Like I studied yoga and Reiki and all of these things on a really deep level for many years, and didn't read so many like self help books, I would say. I was blessed with like beautiful people in my life that helped me learn how to self inquire without needing to stuff myself full of information. But what happened to me was, it wasn't that I didn't like reading or I didn't want to read. It was more that the quality of the material that was available in the field when I was going through my awakening process wasn't matching my experience in terms of like where I was at. I would read a book and then I would just see where it was distorted versus like getting much from it. So I started to recognize that I was uncovering something in myself that I didn't really feel was in the collective field. And I really feel like I started to expand on a much deeper level and a wider level when I stopped consuming and I stopped engaging with courses. I feel like there's a point where you get full. You get full of books, you get full of listening, you get full of consuming, you get full of reading, you get full of input. You stop allowing so much input in so that you can actually get empty again, regurgitate it all back out, or we'll say purge it all back out. Sorry, not regurgitate, purge, let it go so that you can really truly feel who you are. Because the mind will forever consume. You know, it'll never be full because it's this constant processor that just wants mental chewing gum. And it should be used as a processor and as a faithful servant versus something that dictates your life. And you can't really get still or get empty if you're still consuming. Now, that's not saying that I don't consume anything anymore. I mean, I went through a phase of really unplugging. And that phase was like probably for like 5 or 6 years, really not consuming much at all. And really getting into the inner exploration of my own consciousness and my own themes in my life and what was going on. And, you know, engaging with plant medicine, self inquiring, working with these processes that were moving through my life, these themes that were happening and what I was living, and knowing my connection to my blueprint was to uncover these things. And slowly I started to understand or understand like what it means to live the teachings versus what it means to know something and then think you are on a certain level of consciousness, but it's just the mental level. And yeah, so I noticed the lack of embodiment or like the disembodied people that were rising through the spiritual world. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just part of our evolution. You know, this is just what happens. Expansion's happening, so everything expands. And that means that there's a lot of hollow, disembodied or non embodied people in the spiritual realm, in other realms, of course, as well. Like it exists in every realm, but specifically teaching spirituality from a non lived space. And again, there's really nothing wrong with this. It's just more, you know, for divine discernment to know the difference between what is lived and what is embodied versus what is hollow and what is not matching, what is not congruent with the teachings. You know, the practice what you preach. Like it's all great to know that the answer to everything is love, but are you really living and being in love? Are you really allowing love to be the frequency that comes through you? Are you really doing the inner work to allow the shadows to dissolve and resolve so that you can truly experience the love that you are? Are you really showing up in your relationships in love? Are you really meeting people through the heart, or are you meeting people through the I know better or I know more? And this is something to like that's quite hard, I would say, on an ego level in the spiritual world to catch in yourself and in others. If you're not aware of the difference, you can really have somebody that knows a lot of the words and the speech on a conscious level from reading books and from listening to podcasts. And, you know, they talk a good game about spirituality and they really understand it on a mind level. But it's just that level, it's not lived. So they can go out into the world and be very angry or be very mean or cold or disconnected or shut off or closed down, and really truly not living what the teachings are sharing. And this is what happens when we get too much in the mental realm of like trying to know to control, trying to know to be something, trying to know to be someone. And it's the same cycle of power and distortion and illusion that people live through sometimes on this path. And I've definitely gone through my own ego deaths around what I think I know. Every time I think I know something, I'm smashed into. Like you think you're at a certain point. Here you go. Here's another cycle around the sun for you. And that's what embodiment is. It's being okay to be recycled again and again on the same theme of love. You know, we're all here just trying to learn how to be love. Actually, love is a frequency. Love is our natural state. Surrender, I would say, is our natural state, but love is what we are on a frequency level. If we're in harmony with the one, with the all, we become the embodiment of love, and it's the most powerful frequency that exists, and that's why so many people focus on it. And everybody's really doing their best, with meditations and like trying to figure out what this love is, and like practices and processes and self-care and self-love, and like all of these great experiments in the frequency. And what I really noticed for me is that, like, you don't get access to consciousness without initiation. You don't get to vibrate love without really going through the transmutation and the transformation of the pain body that we're all carrying. You do not get access to the gates of heaven without purifying your consciousness of all the shadows that don't allow you to live in love, all of the lack, all of the fear, all of the greed, all of the distortions that keep us outside of love, the control, the idea and the illusion of power, the need for power over people because we feel unpowerful, the trauma and the wounds from the past, from the fall of the empires that have gone. Like, we do not get access to, we do not get our own key to the gates of heaven without going through these initiations. It's not something you can learn. And when I work with people, this is really what I'm focused on now, is really like working with people who've done a lot of work spiritually on themselves, and they're really doing their best. Light workers are smashing it. And they get to a certain point where they're just full. They've just consumed it all. They've done a million courses, and they're still not feeling fulfilled. They still don't know who they are. In fact, they're more lost than ever. And they're feeling just a little bit like jaded and not getting the gifts, like not in the realization of the gifts. And I notice a big theme of like people not getting access because actually a lot of the teachings have come through teaching away. And what I realized around unity consciousness and why we're here is there is no one way. There is an infinite number of beings on this, in this field of potential, and an infinite number of ways, and an infinite number of souls. And obviously there's not an infinite number of souls on the planet, but who are actually embodied here in the body. But there are, like, everybody is unique, and everybody actually has their own codes and their own key to the kingdom. And unity consciousness only works when everyone remembers their individuated key. And this is the absolute brilliance of what we've been born into in this time. I don't know. I haven't found the answer yet. I explore a lot around the Atlantean, the Egyptian, the Lemurian timelines. And I was shown when I did ayahuasca in January the fall of the empire that's happening. We're in a fall of the empire right now. Like, we are experiencing the fall. This has happened many times before. I have chills. Where we've gotten to a point of our evolution of consciousness where we destroyed ourselves. We destroyed everything through immaturity, through moving too quickly, through not really being wise, through developing and expanding the mind too quickly, which is the Atlantean timeline pretty much. The poisons of the mind took over and just grew exponentially, and got out of control, out of, or away from divinity. It got away from sacredness. And I saw that we're in that again now, and we have an opportunity to rise again now, and to rise in the memory of, in remembrance of the pain of the fall. And this is why it's so important that we really get into our memory as a soul, and into remembrance of who we are and why we came here, into remembrance of the history of what has been before. Because we can't truly build on a foundation of forgetfulness, because we try and build to forget what's been. Like, after the war we try and rebuild, but we haven't dealt with the pain body of what's happened. And I don't know about the Atlantean and the Egyptian timeline, if people had individual keys back then, or if we're on a recycle now where they realize that no one person can have all of the keys, because that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to put the keys of the kingdom in one person's hands, which is why the guru idea, or the person, the leader of the pack, in terms of like one person, or the king, one person has the power. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to have leaders, but leaders who are working with empowerment of the all. Because some people are just here with leadership qualities. They're here to actually lead something new. Like, part of my blueprint is leadership, but not leading from above, leading from underneath, leading from looking for the brilliance in every being that's around me. What I've discovered or uncovered in this timeline is that no one person has all the keys. I need to ask that question, if this was there before, like how it really got distorted before. And I think it's just been our attempts to build or to birth consciousness. It's like we're on another cycle, another run of like, are we going to get it this time? Like, are we evolved enough? Are we mature enough as a species to be able to truly live in harmony, and to truly be abundant on all levels, and to truly have and feel enough and feel fulfilled and be in touch with the absolute miracle of being embodied as a human here? Are we mature enough to hold the keys in our hands, and to hold sacredness in the center of our life? Or are we going to destroy ourselves again? Like, that's the question for me. And I know for me, it's like such an honor to have chosen to come here in this time, and to unearth or unlock the layer of consciousness that I'm in, to be able to feel what's going on a divine discernment level, really understand what's needed. And embodiment is something that is screaming. It's like we cannot go around consuming spirituality, and consuming plant medicine, and not integrating anything, and not being in a self-inquiry process. Because a lot of people, because we haven't dealt with the pain body of like what has been before us, and where we've come from, and where we're rising through, if we don't do that work to deal with the pain that's driving us forward, we are not going to be able to access purpose that's going to pull you forward with mission. This purpose that will pull you and call you, versus some pain or some fear or some lack driving you, some shadows driving you to recreate the pain. And we really need to slow down and embody. And I always say this, we're slowing down to speed up. We're in a very like sped up timeline already. And the more you slow down in this time, the more you're going to allow who you truly are to be here. And when I say that, I mean all of the conditions that we think we are, that we think that we should be, they actually hold your consciousness hostage. They hold your cells hostage. The memory lives in the cellular structure in your body. And if you're not relaxed, if you're holding tension, you're not allowing consciousness to move. You're not allowing release. You're not allowing emotional alchemy to happen so that you can process all of this. And if we're constantly doing and flying around the place and consuming, we're not allowing space to be and truly feel what wants to happen, and truly birth your brilliance through the void. And there are phases and stages that I started to notice through holding other people, and also through my own experience of really knowing that there's stages of initiation that cannot be forced, and that cannot be missed. Like, they have to be passed through. Like, and everyone has their own type of initiation. I went through another big one last year when I created a disease for myself as a divine intervention so that I would birth my next level. I mean, what a dramatic, what a dramatic centerpiece. What a dramatic, I was like applauding my higher self in terms of like the theme and the topics that were interwoven into it. And it was painful, man, it hurt. It was very painful, but I sat in it with full awareness of what was happening and why, and what was being embodied, what was needed of me. And I saw my ego die in so many levels. And we're always going through this process of like rising, purifying, checking the ego until the ego becomes like in the back, the identity of who you are. It actually integrates into a part of you. You no longer have another identity. You become your soul essence. You become who you're supposed to be here, versus a version of you that society has imprinted on you, which is the ego self, the shadow self, the false reflection. And we're going through like a huge fall of the false light. And you'll see this in every realm. Like, the church is falling. I shared this before in the energy update, but just look at Trump. He's painted himself as a savior, and he has his own victim and villain going on, and his own distortions of power and greed and illusion from lack, from immaturity. And you can just see that he looks like an immature little boy leading the world. And we have a lot of this, like immaturity leading. And what I really feel hope around is when I see, like, I've noticed recently in the spiritual world, some things are surfacing in terms of exposing false light, where people are really saying all of the right things, but you can feel in the nervous system that they're not living them. It's like when you start to embody truth, you become a lie detector, you become a detector of truth. You know what is not true, basically. And I started to see it in the spiritual world, where somebody will rise up and share something that, and they're quite popular. They might be painted even as a guru in the field. And the field is starting to reflect to them that they're distorted. And this gives me hope, because it's like everything is perfectly purifying itself just by showing up. Every note is a teaching in itself. So every time you show up and you share and you speak and you're brave enough to go into the world, you get shown who you are by the reflections that come back to you. And this is why this reality is such a perfect teacher. And this is what I go deeply into in my reality mastery. It's like, which is like the thing that I'm most interested in now, is like how this technology of the field is always teaching you into who you are. It's always training you and knocking you and smashing you back into alignment, and not in a punishing way, just more like you get bigger lessons the more you genuinely and sincerely ask to remember who you are, and to show up and to say, I'm willing to serve my highest, and willing to serve why I came here, I'm willing to serve the light, whatever your mission is, I'm willing to become who I am. The more you genuinely show up and sincerely are able to say that, the bigger things can shift in your life, and quite quickly. If you're slightly out of alignment, you'll get smashed back into it. And again, it's not out of punishment, it's out of a redirection, because you've asked for it. So we have this technology that we can really work with, course correcting as we go, and going out into the world. And what I really wanted to come on and share here was the embodiment process is about going out into the world and truly living what you are sharing, truly living what you're preaching, truly practicing what you're preaching. And for me, especially this last year, and I feel so blessed with the people in my life that have been like very big teachers for me, in terms of like challenging to deal with on a conscious level. So what I attracted, to embody my power in my feminine, was a lot of distorted feminine, because I had to heal my own lack and my own distortion, where I would allow myself to be abused through the mind, like through people that were really in ego. And I got burnt badly quite a few times by the wounded feminine. And it was through my own wound that I was attracted to it, to actually initiate me into my heart, and to initiate me into understanding these things. And I feel really blessed that I now get to practice more love. It's like, even landing back home, I just feel like this. I think it's also a feeling of like how much more love is available in the field, in terms of like how much our consciousness is shifting. And I know this for me, I go through certain phases every year where I feel a shift, an upshift collectively, where there's suddenly more consciousness in the field. It's like there's suddenly more available to access. And I feel a lightness, like there is more light in the field. And I feel now we're in a phase of a lot more love available, and that there's a lot more harmonization available. And for me, I see one of my purposes, like my bandwidth is expanding to be able to be with everything in love. And then I feel really blessed by like being in the world, and not just pretending to be nice or pretending to be love, because you will see the difference. It's not just like holding a false mask of what we think love looks like. It's truly being with people in a field of love, and understanding them and not judging them, and being able to be with differences, being able to be with everyone, no matter what their purpose is, that there's nothing wrong, and holding wiser space to be able to transmit love into a field where it's very forgotten a lot of times. And what I'm noticing is the harmonization and the uprooting of holding that frequency. So something very interesting like that happens in that field is you start to notice a lot of stuff is suddenly changing or stirred up around you, because like themes and topics are popping up for people that are in your field, because your consciousness and the truth that you hold actually provokes or invokes or creates a correction or stirs up what is in shadow in the field. So your light shines a light on the shadow, and not in a trying to expose anyone way, just in a way of being present and being in your heart and truly listening to the field and truly commanding the field in terms of who you are. And when I don't say command as in you get to like direct and control things, I mean truly commanding who you are into a field of distortion to allow your very vibration to change the field. And this is something that we've all come here to experience. How can I be who I am so that the field bends around me? And when I say bend, I mean that you then get what you want and what's aligned for you and who you are, and resonant people. You get things that feel good to you. You no longer attract the shadows that are challenging you into that love, that are challenging you to birth and to break your heart and crack your heart open, that are initiating you into who you are. And none of this happens on a mind level. The mind just processes and witnesses things. This all happens on an emotional alchemy level. This all happens on a lived, empowered action level. This all happens through courage, through saying, I'm going to go out into the world, not hide from the world. There's no more spiritual bypassing. There's no more, I'm going to sit in meditation and just avoid reality. It's, I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet my brothers and sisters. I'm going to meet everyone that is part of me, and I'm going to show up and share and be with the field in love, and truly be there and share who you are in that field, and be with everyone in their own experience and hold people in their sovereignty and in their power. And yeah, just allow yourself to vibrate who you are and not be afraid. It's when you truly break free the part of you that's terrified of persecution or terrified of standing up in who you are, terrified of judgment. You purify the fears of all of those things so that you can go out and serve powerfully from the heart, serve unattached to any outcome, serve for the love of who you are, serve for the love of your blueprint, serve for the love and the belief that humanity can reach into a deeper love and to reach up into a higher consciousness and transmute the pain and the suffering of the mind, the pain of the poisons of the mind that have just been born of fear and lack and distortion and lack of resources. And you become the source of your own light. You become the source of your own love. You become fulfilled, and you will only truly ever feel full when you get in touch and in tune with who you really are. Everything else is trying to fill yourself from the outside in. And it's time we start to really feel full on the inside out and bring that fullness and that wholeness, and continue to become more full and more whole in the process. Again, this isn't a state of like realization in terms of like there's a place to get with it. It's there's only going to be more that we untap. And in this age of Aquarius where people are becoming more conscious, we will have more time and space to self-reflect because of AI. You know, it's going to be this is going to become more of a thing, and we're going to realize that we are here to be more telepathic and psychic, and it's not just a woo woo or a special thing. It's actually part of our divine birthright as a human to unlock these gifts. And you don't get the gifts through consuming courses, you get the gifts through going through initiations in life, through allowing life to teach you into who you are, through allowing life to mold you. And the process of self-realization is actually the same process as self-love. So yeah, I just really feel passionate at the moment around dispelling the myths and really truly holding a space for people to come into their real power, to really discover who they are in their birthright, in their consciousness, on what is their soul energy signature, what is their blueprint, and to witness them discovering and birthing, and really in the sacred space of rebirthing and birthing who they came here to be. And I'm in that process. You know, I have gone through so many rebirths, and I can tell you the most beautiful experience is to really sit in the witnessing seat of realizing that you are birthing your own brilliance. It's like when I get to witness somebody in that, this is like the most sacred experience for me. And that is my highest experience. And I cannot imagine, because I've experienced it on so many different levels, I cannot imagine a more honoring, more graceful field to hold. it, like you can see it, just like just live for those experiences. I live for that moment where somebody truly remembers and they truly feel and they truly get into who they are, because I have lived it and I'm still living it and I'm still uncovering these parts. And I just know it is the most amazing, highest experience for me that I can imagine on a human level, to really start to live through love, to really start to feel who you are, and not on a woo woo level, knowing that love is the technology of everything that we want and want to feel in this world, everything that we're searching for. You were searching for you were searching for your soul blueprint, you were searching for your divine gifts. The search is never ending until you sit down, you pause, and you get back into yourself. You get back into you unplug from all the information and you get back into what is my experience, what am I interested in, where am I feeling guided to, and you reinstate your own inner guidance system. You unplug from all the programs that have taken you away from that. You clear and clean everything out. And I always say it's like the job of the oracle or the shaman is the truth and the cleaning, to be able to see you, to be able to truly see who you are, and to also clean, constantly purify everything in the mind that doesn't allow you to be that. So, yeah, that's what I want to share for today. So, I hope it resonates. I hope it helps. And if anyone is interested in knowing more about this, just send me a message. And just sending you blessings and a big hug and hope from my heart to yours, that we are all going to witness a lot more love and a lot more fulfilling times. And it's not going to come without initiation. So, buckle up. Buckle up and hold tight to your human, because the soul's on a mission.